cinematic, sarcastic podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we're going to talk about M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Trap. Now, I will say right out of the gate, I was not expecting this movie to be as polarizing as it appears to be. I am very surprised after seeing this film. I am shocked, honestly, at how very different the reviews and opinions of this film seem to be. I am really surprised at how many people are coming out of the woodwork to defend M. Night Shyamalan. I had no idea that that was a thing. I had no idea that there were ride or die Shyamalan fans. Now, I like M. Night Shyamalan, I will say that, or I liked his earlier films. I think I had mentioned in my review for his daughter's directorial debut film, which I did not think was great, that there haven't really been any movies of his that I've enjoyed probably in the last decade. I really, really liked his earlier ones. I really, really liked his style. And then somewhere along the way, whatever that was, whatever that thing was that I felt like he had, I don't feel like that continued to be the case, right? So I will just say right out of the gate, I understand, because this is so polarizing, that 50% of you are not going to agree with my opinion here. And this is just my opinion. It is not the word of law. We are allowed to disagree. That's okay. But I hated this film. I will just come right out and say I hated this one. This has to be my all-time least favorite of Shyamalan's films. Even the one that he did where the plants rise up and kill everyone, I would watch that one again before I would watch this one. This movie, to me, I've heard it said online, and I agree with them, was just a rocket launch for his daughter's singing career. That's it. I don't think that there was as much thought put into this film as some of his previous works. Even of the films that I have not enjoyed, I feel like there was more thought put into those ones than in this one. This one felt not just bad, but lazy. So lazy and sloppy. There were moments in this movie, we're dealing with a concert setting, and we're dealing with something that I guess would be, I don't know, akin to Swifties. So we're talking about a concert of nothing but 12-year-old teenage girls, And all of them, of course, have their cell phones out. And there are moments where it literally will pan in close to the little girl in the film, and she's supposed to be recording something, but you can very visibly and very clearly see her cell phone is completely black, and she's doing nothing with it. It was like they had the intention of maybe in post putting some sort of video on her phone, but they just forgot to do that. And so it just ruins the entire moment for me, at least, because I'm well, she's excited and she's supposedly recording this moment, but nothing is happening. Nothing is really happening here. The dialogue is the worst. The worst. I know people, will talk about Star Wars and how George Lucas is terrible at writing dialogue. And I honestly will say this one is the first time that I've ever noticed an M. Night film having terrible dialogue. And I think it's because none of the characters in this movie, to me, behave like real people. None of the scenarios in this seem like scenarios that would genuinely happen. It's people are, for instance, telling Josh Hartnett's character, who we know from the previews, we know he's the killer. So that aspect of the film is ruined before you ever get there. And that's okay, because really the entire movie, we are seeing things through the perspective of the serial killer. The movie is told kind of from his point of view. But it's nothing about him is a real person. Everything about his demeanor, his conversations seem incredibly fake, incredibly forced, incredibly, to me, very creepy. But the characters in the film are interpreting him as being very charismatic and very charming and very kind. And I'm but how though? He has creepy serial killer smile. How are you interpreting that? Is it just because you're looking at Josh Hartnett? Because he's creepy through the whole entire thing. And there is a moment kind of at the end, I don't think this is a spoiler, but there is a moment where one of the FBI profilers says something to the effect of no one in his real life would know that he was like this. everyone in his life would know. Everyone would know. If you're paying attention, you know. Like, the dude is just so OCD and so, I don't know, like, there's no emotional output to anything he says, right? Like, there's no actual connection, I feel like, through the entire movie. And it might just be like that the acting, the conversations to me don't read as true conversations or like things that real people would do. And so that just sort of feels off to me where other people might not read it the same way. Clearly, other people are not reading that the same way because, you know, a lot of people have given this 5 stars. A lot of people loved it. So I wonder if it's just, you know, a way of perceiving his character that is different. But this is just, I don't know. I really felt like the majority of this focused very heavily on the concert itself and not the character of the serial killer, like trying to evade the concert, if that makes sense. Like, there are moments that you can see him sort of quote unquote plotting his way out. But in general, I feel like all of the ways that he gets out are more like convenient to propel the story and not because he is particularly intelligent or particularly resourceful as a serial killer, if that makes sense. Like, it's almost like he gets to sort of Forrest Gump his way out of situations as opposed to really getting to see like that conniving mind of a serial killer. It's just like, oh, we need him to be at this specific next location for the film to continue. And so we're just going to give him some information or have some sort of thing. Convenient plot point is convenient is, you know, kind of how the majority of the film feels for me. I was so bored. I was so bored through the whole thing. And of course, the nepo of it all, of him casting his own daughter as the lead. I will say she has a very beautiful singing voice. Her acting skills, very subpar, in my opinion. Her singing voice is stellar. But I didn't come to the movie, we'll say it this way. I didn't come to the movie to watch her. I didn't come to the movie for the concert. I came to the movie for the serial killer trap. And I feel like that was almost a subplot of the film as opposed to the main plot of the film, if that makes sense. And I also felt like the majority of this was just incredibly predictable. It was like whatever was the easiest, laziest, in my opinion, way to continue with the story is what he picked. There was nothing that I really felt like was innovative or out of the box in terms of a thriller story. I was praying for him to get caught because I just wanted it to end. I'm genuinely just shocked at how separated this seems to be in terms of an audience, but out of the gate, I would say definitely this one is my least favorite of the Shyamalan movies. And I really think Trap has tied the bow for me on just probably not looking for M. Night's movies in the future and probably not really going out of my way to watch them. I really think that Trap has kind of just solidified my whatever it is that M. Night Shyamalan had at the beginning of his career, he no longer has now. So those are my thoughts on Trap. I would love to know what you guys thought of this one. Subscribe to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.